He is considered to be the father of Indian mathematics. His most famous work is the Aryabhata, a Sanskrit text written when he was just 23. It covers arithmetic, algebra, plane and spherical trigonometry, and astronomy. The Aryabhata was a groundbreaking work. It introduced the world to the concept of zero and the use of Hindu-Arabic numerals. It also provided a new method for calculating the value of pi and made significant contributions to our understanding of trigonometry. But that's not all he's known for. He also developed an accurate algorithm for finding the area of a triangle and a method for approximating the square root of 2. He also made significant contributions to our understanding of algebra and number theory. In fact, he was the first to prove the Pythagorean theorem in a way that is still used today. And he did it without using any fancy language or jargon. Just think about that for a second. This guy proved one of the most important theorems in all of mathematics using plain English. That's pretty impressive. But even after all this, he's still not as well known as he should be. In fact, there's a good chance that you've never heard of him before. So why is that? Well, there are a few reasons. First of all, much of his work was lost when the Islamic world invaded India and destroyed many of the ancient texts. Secondly, even though he was a mathematician, he was also a philosopher and astronomer, and it was his astronomical ideas that were more popular during his lifetime. Unfortunately, those ideas were later proven to be wrong. And finally, much of his work was done in Sanskrit, which is a language that is not widely understood today. However, despite all these setbacks, his work survived and it eventually made its way to Europe, where it had a major impact on the development of mathematics. In fact, some scholars believe that he may have been the inspiration for the Greek mathematician Ptolemy, who lived around the same time and made significant contributions to astronomy and mathematics. If that's true, then we can credit Aryabhata with helping to shape the course of human history. So who was Aryabhata? Well, he was born in 476 AD in a small village in present-day Gujarat, India. From a young age, he showed a brilliant mind and a passion for learning. And when he was just 23 years old, he wrote his most famous work, the Aryabhata. After that, he went on to write several other books on mathematics, astronomy, and other topics. But sadly, very little of his work has survived to the present day. What we do know is that he was a Jaina monk, but that didn't stop him from making groundbreaking discoveries in mathematics. In fact, many of his ideas were so advanced that they were simply too much for the people of his time to understand. For example, he believed that the Earth was a sphere and that it rotated on its axis, which caused day and night. He also believed that the moon and planets reflected the light of the sun and that they orbited the Earth in circular paths. These ideas were heretical at the time and they made him a lot of enemies. But he didn't let that stop him from sharing his knowledge with the world. And that brings us to his most famous contribution to mathematics, the number zero. You might think that the concept of zero would be easy to understand, but believe me, it was revolutionary at the time. For centuries, mathematicians had been trying to figure out what to do about the problem of having no symbol for the concept of nothing. They had used different words to describe it, but they needed a symbol. And Aryabhata was the first to come up with a symbol for zero. He used a dot to represent the concept of nothing, and this made it much easier to perform calculations involving division by zero. Before this, mathematicians had no idea how to deal with dividing by zero, but now they had a symbol for it. They could see that it was impossible to divide by zero, and that led to some very interesting mathematical discoveries. If you want to learn more about the fascinating life of this legendary mathematician, then click on the video on your screen right now. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an amazing video. Thanks for watching.